Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Hi-Fi. Here we are again here in the Arctic tundra of Maine. About 15 degrees out today. Max. It's cold, so we're inside and we're working on stereo equipment. Good place, good timing. You may remember the previous post was on a different Rotel preamplifier, the RSP-980. Today we're going to talk about its brother, the RSP-976. And oddly, we have a couple of Rotel preamps here in the house, but we're going to take them one right after the other. Why not? I mentioned earlier when we talked about the 980 that Rotel is one of my favorite companies. And that's because of, I believe it strikes a unique balance between quality and cost. And it seems to always be well-made equipment, and they seem to have a very good grip on even their Chinese, I think, now manufacturing plants that they may have at one point been in Taiwan. But everyone's had some changes, and granted, this piece is at least 30 years old. I think this is maybe close to 40 now. But they're still making good products for sure. But the differences between these two, and they're similar in terms of what they can do. This also has switches for Dolby Pro Logic and certain surround modes that were available in the 80s and 90s. Nothing through HDMI and nothing fancy, but it does actually have digital inputs on the rear for inputs for audio, for digital coaxial inputs from CD players and other equipment, and also optical inputs. So that's a change from the 980 that separates this from that mostly analog piece of device, that 980. So this gets into the digital realm, and which means there's DACs inside that will decode your CD player. So if you run a somewhat outdated CD player like this Rotel below it, the next piece on the chopping block for a bit of a review, stuck in a kind of a Rotel mode here. But serious, well-made equipment, and so always a fancy of mine when I see somebody wanting to get rid of something that they think is outdated, but still probably was $1,000 piece in its day. So the other difference about this right off the bat, we're just going to go into the fact that it has a digital display. The 980 did not. So for a lot of people, that's handy when you have your remote. And you can come back and you can change your inputs and actually see what input you're on. I think the 980 had red lights down in the lower right, but you may not be able to see those as far away. This LCD screen, the letters are almost well, quarter-inch high, so you should be able to see them from 6 to 10 easy, I would think, feet across the floor. So that makes it easy to change inputs. You should notice the simple bass and treble controls here. And once again, I always just hit the stereo button and run things through amplifiers and check the quality of the preamplification and whatnot. The remote is pretty decent, pretty good sized. This one's been beat around a little bit. It still has a protective screen on the protective film on the LCD screen, so that's kind of nice. When I peel that off, I'm sure the display will be still pretty clean. Also to note, there is a big button on the left, and this is a good size remote. You'll lift it up and you'll say, wow, that's like a 2-pound machine right here, and so it's a bit bulky, but it seems to work well. And there's a big light button on the left-hand side, which will allow you to light almost all of the buttons on the remote, which is handy in dark rooms. We're going to try to finish this up real quick because I believe the phone on the battery is dying, but much like the 980, the RSP-980, this one has a bevy of gold-plated inputs on the back, and also has a removable power cord, which is quite handy in case of Those of you like me who think that there's a chance that if you beef up your power cable, that you can beef up your sound. And I think that there's some truth to that, especially with high-end equipment. You can find some very expensive power cords, and some of it is what they call snake oil, but some of it seems to have some basis when I try things and listen in a very quiet room, try to get very accurate with the listening tests and A/B things and whatnot. And sometimes I swear that it's all matters. It's just at what increment, and so you'll have to try that type of thing for yourself. But that's where I get a lot of my enjoyment. Trying different cables, trying different setups. Matching is very important because of the impedance values um, and whatnot. Everything has an electrical parameter, and some of those work better together than others. There's no doubt about it. So, as you can see, there's a digital coax way over on the other side, and that's how I piped the CD player in so that I could use the DACs inside this Rotel preamp instead of the DACs in the CD player itself using the analog outputs. Here we are. There's a nice quickie for you. Another beautiful preamp from Rotel with a remote, and this will go up on for sale here immediately, I'm assuming, or somewhat close to immediately. And I'm guessing that something like this would go for maybe a couple hundred tops with the remote on the used market. Thank you for watching today. Keep warm. I know you're probably warmer than I am, but keep on shoveling. We'll talk to you soon.